There's something slightly awkward about walking up to a classic Saab in 2026 and still using the key like it's 1988. So today, we're gonna fix that. J&K Saabwerx sent over their new remote locking kit for the Classic 900. It's not released to the public just yet, so this is an exclusive first look. We're gonna unbox, do a full install, and do some testing. It'll be advertised as a complete, mostly plug-and-play solution, so we're going to see how easy it is to actually install and how well it integrates with the factory center lock system. This looks way more professional than I've expected. Man, this is awesome. What? It even has the Saab logo on there. That's freaking awesome. Upgrades for your Classic 900. Sweet. So this must be the control unit. Another sticker. And this is the instructions, although it's just a draft at this point because this is still kind of in development. It's very detailed. So far so good, guys. So far so good. So this looks like the actuator, and then some wire harness, an extra remote. So this is the LED indicator. I guess also we'll check out what that is later. A zip tie, and this looks like a weatherproof seal kind of thing for the actuator. And they even give you an alcohol swab. So I think this is a complete kit. You don't need anything else pretty much, except obviously tools. So far so good. Let's get started. Start by making sure the window is fully closed. This gives you the most clearance to work safely. At the top rear of the door panel, unscrew the lock knob from the upper rod lock. Geez, what? From the upper rod lock. Upper lock rod. Bruh. Now let's move to the interior door handle. Remove the screw inside the handle. This will either be a T20 or a T25 or a Phillips depending on your car. Once this screw is out, tilt and lift the handle assembly out of place. Next, slide the inner door decoration panel downward to release it from the retaining clips. With that removed, take out the 4 T25 screws along the top of the panel and 2 T25 screws at the bottom. Once all of these are removed, lift the door panel upward to clear the lock rod, then pull it away from the door and set it aside. Now moving on to the outside rear edge of the door, locate the 2 T30 screws that secure the bracket for the central lock switch inside the door. Well, this part is really hard to show because everything is inside of this door, but I'm gonna try my best to explain it. Alright, I think I got it. It's right in there, that white plastic piece. The right side of that is open-ended, so you just have to push this lock rod, I guess, towards the outside of the door. So if you look at it from the outside, it is right there. There we go. Alright, so now you see the rod is out of the plastic clip. So now that this upper rod is free, you can take that out just like that. So now that rod is loose, I can fully remove this screw. And that should be enough to remove the lock switch from the door. And lastly, unplug this connector. Ooh, everything's so corroded. Alright, there's the little guy. Let's go take it into the shop. Now that we have a full view of the lock switch, let's remove the 2 7mm bolts holding the bracket on. Undo the zip ties, then remove the lock rod from the actuator. Here's a quick look at the difference between the new one on the left and the old one on the right. This next step is optional because the new actuator is fully sealed and the plastic sheathing is not necessary, but it is provided for those of you who want to retain the OEM installation. Start by taking the rubber bulb and sliding it onto the bottom or curly end of the actuator rod. Push it upward along the rod as shown, but don't seat it fully just yet. Next, insert the new lock actuator into the plastic sheathing. Then feed the actuator rod into the small opening at the top of the sheathing and hook it into the actuator's eyelet. Once everything is aligned properly, use the smaller zip tie to secure the plastic sheathing tightly around the actuator rod. Now slide the rubber bulb down over the zip tie connection. This creates a splash-resistant seal and helps protect the actuator from moisture inside the door. After that, use the larger zip tie to secure the sheathing firmly onto the body of the actuator itself. With the actuator fully assembled, mount it back onto the bracket using the two 7mm screws. Once tightened, the new actuator assembly is ready to be reinstalled into the door. To start the install, we need to remove the center console so we can access the wiring underneath. First, remove the rubber bellow between the shifter and the center console. You can usually pull this up by hand, but if yours is stubborn, a plastic trim tool helps avoid damaging the edges. Next, slide out the ashtray, and behind it, you'll find a 10mm bolt. Remove this bolt to free the front of the console. At the base of the center console, there are two T25 screws. Remove those first, then on each side of the console, there are two additional T25 screws, so that's 4 total. There are these 4 torque screws here that I removed, but those screws turned out to be part of the console, not something that holds the console to the car, so you can skip this step. Even without removing those, the console now should be loose. When it comes free, don't forget to slide the ashtray bulb out of its socket so you don't damage the wiring. Now with the console removed, take out the carpet cubby that sits underneath it. It should slide out with a bit of wiggling. You know, I should probably disconnect the battery. I should have done that from the beginning. Now we'll move to the steering column area, the panel below the turn signal and the wiper stalks. My car doesn't have this cover, so I skipped this step. There are 2 T20 screws holding it in place. Once those are out, the cover can be removed. Next is the knee bolster or lower dash panel. There are 3 bolts holding this in. The first bolt is in the center of the panel. This is actually the coupler that the ashtray retaining bolt threads into. Use a 13mm socket to remove it. Then open the hood. In each corner of the wing well, just below where the hood pins slide into their guides, you'll find a 10mm hex bolt. There's one on each side. Use a ratchet with a long extension to remove both of them. Back inside the cabin, the knee bolster can now be worked free. It may require a bit of prying and pulling, but trust me, it will come out. That looks way too easy. Oh, all right. Yeah, sounds like I'm gonna break something. What am I doing wrong? After struggling for what seems like an eternity, I decided to try to loosen the upper dashboard. Alright, so good thing I removed it because now I have a better idea of what's going on underneath there. So this is the upper dashboard and the knee pad is kind of wedged inside of that. So I guess I could kind of finagle it out by pulling up or like pulling this upper dashboard towards me, and while at the same time pushing the knee panel down. No! Oh man. Okay, it's okay. It's alright. Don't panic. Just don't make the same mistake I did. Be gentle on this piece right here. Oh! Yes! Let's go! Look at that! Wow. That better have gotten on camera. Whew. With the knee panel removed, you'll now be able to see the main air duct running across the passenger side. Mounted on top of that duct is the factory central locking control unit. That's what we're replacing. Start by prying off the metal bracket or clamp that holds the control unit to the top of the duct. It just needs to be gently levered free. Once the bracket is loose, you can disconnect the wiring harness from the control unit. These connector housings are similar to some of the early power window switches or later seat heater connectors. In theory, they just pull straight off. In reality, you may need to pull a little harder than you expect. I always break these, so wish me luck. If it's stubborn, use a small screwdriver to carefully bend out the retention tabs while pulling the connector free. Alright. With the old unit removed, take the alcohol wipe provided and clean a flat area on top of the air duct where the new controller will mount. This helps the adhesive bond properly. Right, so out with the old and in with the new. So this harness goes right on there. Nice and easy like that. You should hear a nice click, and then this one goes here. The connector housing is a reproduction of the original NLA part, so it should mate cleanly. Modern Classic Saab has recreated this connector housing specifically for this application, so a thank you to Jordan at MCS for continuing to support these cars and making upgrades like this possible. There we go. Easy. Peel the liner off the Velcro on the bottom of the control unit, then press it firmly into place on the duct. Make sure the red antenna wire is left hanging straight down. Don't coil it up or tuck it away. At this point, the new control unit is installed and connected. So far guys, everything has been pretty plug and play. Let's keep going. This next part is for the optional LED light indicator. This will flash a couple times when the car is locked, and maybe some people will even think that this car has an alarm. But anyways, they're supposed to drill a hole right around here. Interestingly enough, my car already has a hole here, but it's not quite big enough for this connector to fit through, so I'm gonna drill it out just a little bit more, and then that should be good enough. Perfect. Okay, so I went from there all the way down into there, and down here next to the steering column area, and all the way here and into the main unit. Just goes right there. Right there. Okay, and the next part is also optional. It's this really long red wire coming out of the main unit, and this is for the turn signals flashing when you lock or unlock the car. Again, it is optional. I'm gonna go for it, so let's get to it. At the steering wheel, remove the two T25 screws that secure the turn signal and wiper stock bracket to the steering column. Once the screws are out, gently pull the bracket downwards to access the wiring behind it. I'm gonna put this right back so I don't lose it, because there's already like a million torque screws and I already don't know where each one goes. What you're looking for here is the red and white stripe and blue with white stripe wires coming from the turn signal stock. You may need to separate them from the harness slightly, and in some cases, cut the zip tie holding that group of wires together. So the instructions here say that there's a red, white, and a blue-white wire, so two wires. But my car has two sets of the white, blue, and white, red. I think it's one of those things where it's different depending on the model year. Mine is an 88. And that's what mine has, but I don't think it matters which one it goes to, of the two, because if I remove this blue wire, for example, two wires are going in, but it's just one connection. I'm pretty sure it doesn't really matter which one I tap into, so it helps to remove the connection out of the main unit so that we can posi tap into it. So from the main unit, this is the braided red wire, and that is also color coded the same way. So we got a red white and a blue white. So I'm gonna do the blue white first. Okay, I've never used one of these before, but it's very easy and looks pretty secure, assuming that it's working. So I'm gonna do the red and white now. Okay, I think that's good enough. All right, and now this should make the lights flash. So I'm gonna lock once, awesome, and unlock twice. And before we put all the trims back together, lock unlock. Fantastic. Okay, so the remote works on driver's side and the passenger side. It also works on the trunk. So this is locked. Unlock. There we go. Now if I lock it and use the trunk button. Okay, so the trunk button doesn't really do anything. But I think that's because originally the car doesn't have an option to unlock just the trunk. So it's just piggybacking off of the stock unit, so that makes sense. But it works with the remote. For cutting the switchblade key, any hardware store should be able to do it for you. It did take me a couple tries to get it done because some people won't do it because they think it has a chip in it and they think I'm like stealing the car or something. And the other part is that because you're supplying your own key, they're kind of reluctant to do it. I don't know what the reason for that is, but they kind of just don't want to be liable to mess something up. But I was able to do it for less than $10 per key. The unit does come with 2 remotes, so there's that. If you are interested in buying this unit, make sure to go follow the J&K Saabwerx Facebook page, which I'll have linked down below. They will announce when it will be released and for how much and all the other information that you might be curious about. And they have other high quality products that keep your classic 900 on the road, so make sure to check them out. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.